In this video, we will implement Google Tag Manager. First, what is Google Tag Manager? It is a tag management system. That means that you can manage other tracking scripts through Google Tag Manager. The concept is you take Google Tag Manager's code, you put it on your website, then you can implement other tracking scripts through it because Google Tag Manager is on your website. This will make a lot more sense once we go through it, so let's just go ahead and do it. First, search for Google Tag Manager, hit Sign In, Tag Manager. You will come to a page that looks like this. We will want to create an account, give your account a name, probably the name of your website. It's up to you if you want to share data with Google. Enter your website without the HTTP. This step is where to use the container. In most cases, you're going to put it on a website, but if you had, for example, an iOS app or an Android app, you might want to put it in the code for that app. So you would choose one of these other options, or you might have an accelerated mobile page. If you don't know what that is, don't even worry about it. It's not relevant to you. We're going to do web. Hit create. Down here, you can check this. I also accept the data processing terms as required by GDPR. We hit yes. This is going to set up the system. And now we come to the code part. Don't be intimidated by this. Before we look at this, I want to give you the general concept of how to actually implement this code. This is the most bare bones HTML page you can have. The things you need to know are what is a head tag and what is a body tag. Those are head and body tags. Notice how they look when they're opening. This is an opening head tag. This is a closing head tag by this slash here. Slash means closing. First, we want to copy the Google Tag Manager code, and we want to put it right after the opening head tag, just like that. Then we will copy this. This is for people that don't have JavaScript enabled on their browser, and this is kind of just like a safeguard just in case, so we can still track them. So that's what it would look like. This would track Google Tag Manager. Now the idea is you want this code to appear on every single page on your website. In most modern web pages today, they are using web frameworks. And in this example, I'm going to implement this Google Tag Manager on a WordPress framework. So the way it usually works with web frameworks is they have files called headers and footers. This is important to know because headers and footers appear on most pages, if not all of the pages on your website. And since they do appear on all pages of your website, it's a great place to implement Google Tag Manager. So let's go ahead and do that. In WordPress, you go to Appearance, Editor, and over here you have Themes. Make sure the correct theme that you're using is selected and find header.php. Notice this is the opening head tag. We just enter a space there. We paste in the Google Tag Manager code, and that's step 1. Step 2, here's the body tag code. We find the body tag. So mine looks a little bit different because it has some PHP in it, but it's essentially the same thing. An opening body tag, maybe some stuff, and then it closes. What we want to do is hit enter, paste, and we're done. So I want to show you now what So I'll hit OK on this. The container is not published. So I'm going to publish this. You can add a description, so we'll just say version 1, hit publish. So now it's published. And you notice we jumped to the versions tab. Let's go back to the workspace, live version 1. But remember, I haven't submitted the update to this file yet. So let's go. And actually, before we do, the reason I wanted to show you that is because now we can put it into preview mode. So what is preview mode? It's essentially putting Google Tag Manager into debug mode. That means when we're implementing new tracking scripts, we can troubleshoot them by putting our site into debug mode. This is really important for testing. And then we can leave the preview mode by clicking this link here. But let's go to the website right now. Okay, now I just went to the website and it's not doing anything unusual. Watch what happens when I hit update file and submit the Google Tag Manager code when we are in preview mode. So the file updated successfully. Let's refresh this page. And you notice a horizontal bar appeared. This is how you know if you have Google Tag Manager installed correctly. Another way to know if you have Google Tag Manager installed correctly is by simply using an extension for Chrome. You go up there, this is called Google Tag Assistant. We're going to install this in the next video. Let's click Enable, refresh, and you can see what it does is it tells you whether your tags are installed correctly or not. So super helpful. And you can check contain tags and so on. So it's a great troubleshooting tool. But there's one problem here. We had to actually edit the HTML, or we had to edit our template files in order to implement Google Tag Manager. Another option, if you have a content management system, is to add a plugin. So I'm saying plugin with big quotes here. That's because you might be using a different content management system. It might not be called plugin. It might be called extension or module. Whatever the name is, the concept is the same. Search for Google Tag Manager plugins. Here, I'm literally just going to pick the first one. We will say install now. You will want to do a little bit more research. Activate. We're going to update those files to make sure we remove Google Tag Manager so we can install it through the plugin instead. Now we go to plugins, installed plugins. We find Google Tag Manager for WordPress. We click settings. It's asking us for our Google Tag Manager ID. That is this right here. Sometimes it's a little hard to copy. So if you go into the admin, you can see it right there. So I copied that. We're going to paste it. And this particular plugin is unusual because it'll put it in the footer of the page by default. We just learned that's not optimal. We want it, and this container code placement. This decides where to put the second GTM code. So this part here. So this plugin is figuring out where to put that second one for people that don't have JavaScript. So we have to do something like this. We have to select custom there, copy this, save changes, and before we actually go and submit this, let's refresh, and we do see that Google Tag Manager is still on our website. So the plugin worked. It did work. However, the code needs to be updated. So once again, we are in a situation where we are editing template files, which is not always optimal, and we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So if we click here, we paste it in there, update file. Let's just look at this source code here. Let's look for the opening body. We can see this is the opening body. Notice how it says site wrapper, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we updated our template with this code. And I know this video is getting long, but now I'm going to refresh. Let's look at the same thing. And now you can see it did put Google Tag Manager no script, or the script for people that don't have JavaScript enabled, right there. So this video was super thorough. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions or if you're having trouble, definitely leave me a comment below. In the next video, we are going to install Google Tag Assistant.